Hi Year 5, I hope that you are all safe and well. Today we are going to be continuing with the topic of clothes, but learning a new skill in Spanish about verb conjugation. So here we go. I'm just going to maximize the screen so you can see it all. Okay, so we're going to have some familiar faces in here too, so I hope you enjoy it. What you will need for this lesson is some plain paper, or some lined paper, doesn't really matter, a pen or a pencil, a ruler, and then you might need some colouring pencils or felt tips if you decide to colour in your pictures at the end. Okay, hopefully some of you have seen the clothes part 1 video. If you haven't, don't worry, because I'm going to go through most of the vocabulary again that you will need. So on the right of the screen here, we have some words that were introduced in that clothes part 1 video and some pictures that go with it. So what I want you to do is just have a read through, see if you can remember which words go with which pictures. So pause the video here, make a list on your piece of paper and have a go. Okay, I'm going to go through the answers and you can check. So we've got unos pantalones, they are the trousers. Una camiseta is a t-shirt. Una sudadera is the sweatshirt. Un vestido is the dress. Un jersey is the jumper. Una camisa is the shirt with the collar that you can see up at the top here. And unos pantalones cortos, well, cortos means short, so it's like saying short trousers, a pair of shorts we would say in English. Well done, I'm sure you remembered some of those, and some of them you can actually guess. Okay, we're going to move on now. And I want to remind you all how much I enjoy seeing your work and hearing from you. And I have had some lovely pieces of work from Year 5 in the past few weeks. So it's spanish@grange.harrow.sch.uk. Please email me. And if you do, you've got a chance of being in a shout out video. Okay, so our learning intention today is to learn how a regular AR verb is conjugated in Spanish. Now, I know that sounds a little bit complicated, but don't worry. We're going to go through it all step by step. And our date today is Viernes el 1 de mayo 2020. Maybe you could say that after me. I'll say it once more. Viernes el 1 de mayo 2020. Okay, so by the end of the session, you should be able to understand what the different persons of a verb are, choose the correct form of the verb to complete a sentence, and use the first and third persons of the verb llevar, which means to wear. Now, as I said to you before, to learn a language, you need to develop 4 key skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And in this lesson, you're going to have the chance to practice all of those skill areas. But it's so important that you find a few minutes or so each day to keep practicing, because otherwise it's really easy to forget. And your next Spanish video will be in 2 weeks' time. So you've got quite a while to practice. Okay, so this is a link to a song about conjugation. And what conjugation is, it explains how a verb works in a foreign language. Okay, I'm not going to play that for you right now, but it is quite fun and it will introduce this idea of conjugation. Okay, we also need a few new words because we've got some of these words coming up in today's lesson. So, unos vaqueros, pair of jeans, una corbata, a tie, unas gafas, a pair of glasses, and unas gafas de sol, a pair of sunglasses. And remember, el sol means the sun. So it's literally some glasses of or for the sun. Okay, Now, we're looking at verbs today, and hopefully you can all tell me what a verb is in English. Just have a think. How would you define a verb? Look for the clues. Okay, great. I'm sure that lots of you remember a verb is a doing word. So hopefully in the time that we've been away from school, you've been doing some of these things: playing sport, reading, singing, some sort of music activity, and doing some cooking. Okay, now in Spanish, verbs end in AR, ER, or IR, and we're going to start by looking at AR verbs. And an important term, a grammar term that we need, is called the infinitive. Now, English verbs in their infinitive have the word to in front of them. So, for example, to play, to swim, to practice. But Spanish verbs don't really have an infinitive. They have an infinitive, but without the to. And the infinitive ends in AR, ER, or IR. So at the beginning of year 5, we did a unit all about sports, where you use the verbs jugar and practicar. Okay, so those infinitives are examples of AR verbs. If it helps you just to make a note that in English the infinitive usually would have a to in front, go ahead, pause the video, and you can do that now. Okay, now another important grammatical term that we need to understand is the word pronoun. And this is who is doing the action of the verb. And we usually put this at the front. So we might say, I play. In that phrase, I is the pronoun. But in Spanish, we don't have to use the pronouns to show who it is that's doing the action. We can change the ending of the verb. And this is something that you will learn a lot more about in year 6 and as you go into secondary school. But it's really a good idea to just have a look at it now. You don't have to learn all the endings off by heart, but just understand that in Spanish, we change the ending of the verb, and that tells us who is doing the action. So first person, second person, and third person is something I'm sure you've done in your English lessons. The first person is I or we, the second person is you, and the third person is he, she, it, or they. So the Spanish verb llevar, an AR verb, to show who is doing the wearing of the clothes. For example, we take off the AR from the infinitive and add on all these different endings that you can see. And in the next video, I will show you how to make a verb flower or a verb spider to help you. Okay, so have a look at that. Llevo, llevas, lleva, llevamos, lleváis, llevan. I'll say them again and see if you can say them after me. Llevo, llevas, lleva, llevamos, lleváis, llevan. Don't worry about the word beginning with you there, usted and ustedes. Okay, so lots and lots of our teachers have been really kind and sent me in a few photographs so that we can describe what they are wearing using the different persons of the verb. So I'm going to show you an example of each one, then we're going to do some together, and then I'm going to give you some to try by yourself. So my turn at the moment. If somebody asked me, ¿Qué llevas? What are you wearing? I would respond using the I form of the verb. I wear. Llevo una sudadera, a sweatshirt, and unos pantalones, some trousers. Okay, so llevo is the word that we really need to try and stick in our minds. Okay, here I've got a picture of myself, Mrs. Joshi, and Mrs. Begum. Now, if I asked Mrs. Joshi, ¿Qué llevas, Señora Joshi? She would respond again, starting her answer with llevo. Llevo un vestido tradicional. See if you can work out what that means. Great. It means I am wearing a traditional dress. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to look at the third person. So in the question it says, ¿Qué lleva señora Parker? What is Mrs. Parker wearing? And quite often you can use what's in the question to help you form the answer. So, señora Parker lleva una camiseta blanca y unos vaqueros. See if you can write down what that sentence means in English. So pause the video if you need a little bit more time, otherwise we'll keep going. ¿Qué lleva señor Owens? Señor Owens lleva una camiseta y unos pantalones cortos. Again, see if you can write down what that means in English. Okay, I've gone back to the same picture here to show you the other part of the first person. So in my question, ¿Qué lleváis, señora Joshi y señora Begum? What are you wearing, Mrs. Joshi and Mrs. Begum? And I've had to use the you plural, lleváis, in my question because I'm talking to more than one person. And if Mrs. Begum wanted to answer on behalf of her and Mrs. Joshi, she would say, llevamos, we are wearing vestidos tradicionales, traditional dresses. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. And the last one that we need to look at is llevan, they wear. So the question, ¿Qué llevan Señora Hubbard y Señora Smith? What are Mrs. Hubbard and Mrs. Smith both wearing? So Mrs. Hubbard and Mrs. Smith, you can see in the photographs, are both wearing sunglasses and they're both wearing jeans. So we have to use the they form, llevan. Señora Hubbard y Señora Smith llevan unas gafas de sol y unos vaqueros. Okay, so I've given you an example of all the different forms of the verbs, but I want you to focus on the I and the he, she forms for now. Llevo and lleva, because now you're going to help me fill in some gaps. So here I've got a picture of myself and a lady called Carmen who came to school a couple of years ago to do some flamenco dancing with us. And in the first speech bubble, I want you to help me fill in the word for I wear. So if you're not sure, have a look at the little pink box. What would it be? Great, I'm sure you've all figured it out. It's llevo, the first one, double L-E-V-O. Now, the second speech bubble needs to be filled with something else. I want to talk about myself and Carmen together. So we're still using the first person, but I need to say, we are wearing flamenco dresses. And actually, I've missed off something on the word vestido. Can you spot what it might be? Excellent. It should be an S because it's plural. So we need to say llevamos, double L-E-V-A-M-O-S, we are wearing. Some, unos, vestidos, should be an S on the end, de flamenco. We are wearing flamenco dresses. Okay, well done. Now, Mr. Kerbal sent me a photograph. ¿Qué lleva Señor Kerbal? Señor Kerbal, una chaqueta, una camisa, unos pantalones y una corbata. So what would go in that gap? Great, it's the third person, so it would be lleva, double L-E-V-A. Can you work out what all those things are? Una chaqueta. What does that sound like, a bit like in English? Yes, it's a jacket. Una camisa, a shirt. Unos pantalones, some trousers. And the new word that I introduced at the beginning, can you remember what that is? Una corbata? Yes, it's the tie. Excellent. Okay, here is a picture of Mr. Hutchinson. Señor Hutchinson, ropa tradicional de India. What would go in the gap there? Which person are we going to be using here? Yes, correct. It's the third person because we're saying he is wearing. Lleva. Double L-E-V-A. Okay, now it's your turn. So these ones I want you to actually write down on your piece of paper. The lovely Mrs. Merchant here. Señora Merchant, something, una chaqueta y unas gafas. So I want you to fill in the gap and write down what that sentence means in English. Okay, pause the video if you need a little bit more time. This one here. So the teacher is asking the children, ¿Qué lleváis? What are you wearing? And the little girl in the middle is going to answer on behalf of all three children. So which of the verb forms would she need? And what do you think a jersey azul might be? So again, pause the video, write down what you think the whole sentence means in English and fill in the gap. And can you spot what I've missed off in the question? There's an accent missing somewhere. It's from the A in red in the word lleváis. It should have a little accent there because it's part of the spelling. Okay, so this brings me on to your independent challenge. And what I'd like you to do is keep a diary for a week of the different clothes that you are wearing and also pick somebody in your family. So at the top, I've got lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, viernes, sábado, domingo. Now I'm sure that you can figure out what those 7 words mean. Remember, we had one in the date today. That should give you a big clue. So the first row is about you. ¿Qué llevas? What are you wearing? And there's 2 ways you could show me what you're wearing. You could either write me a lovely sentence. So if you look in the box under lunes, I've written llevo una camiseta y unos pantalones cortos. Okay, be a really good idea as well if you read out the sentence that you're writing. If you're feeling a little bit less confident and you'd rather draw pictures of what you're wearing, that's fine, but just make sure that you write the word llevo for I'm wearing. So do that for all the different days in the week. And in the second row, it says, ¿Qué lleva tu hermana, hermano, madre o padre? And these words should be familiar from some work we did, I think it would have been year 3, about members of your family. Mi hermana lleva un jersey y unos vaqueros. My sister is wearing a jumper and jeans. Okay, so again, pick somebody in your family and describe what they are wearing. The key here is to use that third person lleva. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your clothes diaries. Please email them to spanish@grange.harrow.sch.uk. And if any part of that is unclear, again, email me and I will explain it in more detail. Now, there's one final slide. This is an extension challenge. And this is where you can practice your listening skills. So far, we've done a bit of speaking, reading and writing. You've listened to me, but for most of that, you've actually had the words in front of you. This is slightly harder. Miss Rodriguez sent me a video where she's described what she's wearing in Spanish, but we haven't got the text for it. And Miss Rodriguez is actually from Spain. So listen to how she pronounces the words. Listen to it a couple of times and write down on your piece of paper what you think she has said. You can write it in Spanish and in English as well. So if you hover over the bottom, we'll listen to it now together.
Hola, hoy llevo unos playeros blancos, pantalones azules, una camiseta blanca, una chaqueta rosa y unas gafas de sol.
Okay, I can't wait to see some of your work, and I really hope that you're keeping well and safe and doing all those things that are going to keep you well and safe. Adios for now. Well done, everybody.